The prophecy came with my conscription papers. I held the envelope in my hospital break room, still wearing yesterday's scrubs because my shift had run 16 hours and I hadn't made it home. My hands shook as I read the ornate script beneath the government seal. The words blurred together at first, then they sharpened into something impossible. Beatrice Oakes, you are hereby summoned to serve as first offering at the coronation of His Majesty Halvard Blackthorne, Vampire King of the Eastern Courts. The oracle has spoken. You will die by his bite at midnight on the 7th day hence. Your service honors your bloodline. Refusal is treason. I laughed. It came out strangled and thin. Bad news? My colleague Marco leaned over my shoulder before I could fold the letter away. His face went white. B. Oh God. It's a joke, but my voice didn't sound convinced. The seal was real. I'd seen enough government documents cross the hospital admin desk to know authentic from fake. The courts don't joke. Marco grabbed my shoulders. You have to run. Leave the city. They'll never find you if you... They found me to deliver this. I gestured at the letter. You think I can hide from creatures who've lived centuries? He had no answer for that. Neither did I. The world had changed 5 years ago when the vampires revealed themselves, not gradually, not with warning. One night they simply appeared on every screen, in every city, led by a council of ancients who explained with perfect civility that they had existed alongside humanity for millennia. Now they wanted recognition, rights, territory. What followed was chaos, then negotiation, then an uneasy treaty. They got the nights, we got the days. They established courts in underground halls beneath major cities. We pretended this was normal. It wasn't normal. And now their new king, barely coronated, from what the news said, needed a human offering for some archaic ceremony. The letter said it honored my bloodline, but my family was nobody. Working class. My mother cleaned houses. My father drove trucks before he died. I'd put myself through nursing school on loans in spite. There was nothing special about me except the chronic fatigue that had plagued me since childhood. Some unnamed condition the doctors couldn't diagnose. I pushed through it, survived on coffee and stubbornness, and kept showing up for my shifts because people needed me. Now, apparently, I was needed for something else, to die. The next 6 days passed in a haze. I tried to work, but administration put me on leave. For your service, they said, as if this were an honor. My apartment felt like a cell. I considered running, but Marco's words haunted me. Where could I go that they wouldn't find me? On the 6th day, a woman appeared at my door. She was vampire. I knew instantly. The inhuman pallor of her skin, white as frost, hair like spun silver falling past her shoulders. Eyes too bright, too knowing. She wore a dark suit that probably cost more than my annual salary. Beatrice Oakes. Her voice was silk and smoke. I am Seraphine, advisor to His Majesty. I've come to prepare you. For my execution? Her expression didn't change. For the ceremony. She swept into my apartment without invitation, bringing cold air that smelled of stone and night. I closed the door, because what else could I do? You're angry, Seraphine observed. I'm being sacrificed to satisfy some ancient ritual. Yes, I'm angry. You should be honored. I should be alive. The words came out sharper than intended. What did I do to deserve this? I help people, I save lives, and your king is going to drain me dry because an oracle said so? Seraphine turned to face me fully. Her eyes were pale amber, unreadable. The oracle's words are absolute. She has never been wrong. There's a first time for everything. Not in 3,000 years. She moved closer. I understand your fear, but the king does not choose this lightly. The ceremony binds him to his people. Your death will mean something. It'll mean I'm dead. Seraphine was silent for a long moment. Then she said quietly, I brought you suitable attire. The ceremony is formal. She produced a garment bag from thin air, or maybe she'd been holding it all along and I'd been too furious to notice. Inside was a gown of deep crimson, beautiful and horrible. The color of blood. Wear this tomorrow night. A car will collect you at sunset. You may bring nothing with you. She paused at the door. For what it's worth, Miss Oakes, I'm sorry. Then she was gone. I stood alone in my apartment, holding a dress meant for my funeral. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on my balcony watching the city lights blur through tears I refused to shed. I wasn't a crier. I was a fighter. But how did you fight a prophecy? By dawn, I'd made my decision. If I was going to die, I'd die on my feet, defiant. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of my fear. The sun set too quickly. It always did when you wanted time to slow. The car arrived exactly as promised, a black sedan with tinted windows. The driver was human, silent, and grim. I wore the red gown, because what did it matter? It fit perfectly, which somehow made everything worse. They'd known my measurements without asking. We drove through the city as night deepened. Other cars cleared from our path. People on sidewalks stopped and stared. Some made warning signs. Others bowed their heads. They knew what the red dress meant. I kept my spine straight and my eyes forward. We descended into an underground garage I'd never seen before, then through corridors carved from living rock. Torches lined the walls, actual torches, because vampires loved their aesthetic, casting dancing shadows. The air grew colder with each step. Finally, we reached a great door of black wood and iron. It opened. The hall beyond stole my breath. Vaulted ceilings soared overhead, held by columns of dark marble. Hundreds of vampires filled the space, all pale-skinned and elegant, dressed in formal attire that spanned centuries of fashion. They turned as one when I entered. The silence was absolute. At the far end, on a raised dais, stood a throne of obsidian, and on that throne sat the vampire king. Even from a distance, Halvard Blackthorne commanded attention. He wore black, simple and severe, that somehow emphasized rather than concealed his presence. His hair was white blonde, swept back from a face too perfect to be human, sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, eyes I couldn't see yet but felt watching me with an intensity that prickled my skin. He looked young, maybe 30 by human standards, but the way he held himself spoke of centuries. Power radiated from him like heat from a forge. I was supposed to walk to him, to my death. I took the first step, then another. The crowd remained silent. My footsteps echoed against stone. The red dress whispered around my legs. I focused on breathing, on moving, on not showing the fear that clawed up my throat. The distance closed too quickly and not fast enough. When I reached the dais, I stopped, lifted my chin, met his eyes. They were silver, pale and bright as mercury, ancient and sharp. For a moment, we simply looked at each other. Then, Halvard rose. He descended the dais steps with inhuman grace. Each movement was controlled, predatory. He stopped an arm's length away, studying me with an expression I couldn't read. Beatrice Oakes. His voice was deeper than expected, rougher. It resonated in my chest. You came. Did I have a choice? Something flickered in his expression. No. At least he was honest. Are you afraid? He asked. Yes. The truth came easily. But I won't beg. His eyes narrowed slightly. I wouldn't expect you to. Then let's get this over with. A ripple moved through the assembled vampires. Someone gasped. Halvard's expression hardened into something unreadable. You would rush to your death? I'd rather not drag it out. My heart hammered against my ribs. You need my blood for your ceremony. Take it. I'm not going to make this entertaining for them. I gestured at the watching crowd. Halvard was silent for a long moment. Then he said, very quietly, Come. He took my hand. His skin was cold, not corpse cold, but the cool of marble, of stone that hadn't seen sun. His grip was careful, controlled. He led me up the dais steps to stand before the throne. The crowd pressed closer, a sea of pale faces and glittering eyes. The oracle has spoken. Halvard's voice rang through the hall. This woman carries my fate. By her blood, my reign is sealed. By her death, the prophecy is fulfilled. I closed my eyes. This was it. Look at me. The command was soft, meant only for me. I opened my eyes. Halvard stood very close now, one hand still holding mine, the other rising to cup my jaw. His thumb brushed my cheek. The gesture was almost tender. I'm sorry, he whispered. Then he kissed me. I'd expected the bite, the pain, the draining weakness as my life poured out. I didn't expect his mouth to be gentle. I didn't expect the spark that jumped between us, bright and electric. I didn't expect his sharp intake of breath, or the way his hand tightened on my jaw, or the sudden intensity with which he kissed me deeper, as if searching for something. Then his teeth grazed my lower lip. Pain bloomed, sharp and quick. Blood welled. He drew it in, drinking not deeply, not the killing drain I'd anticipated, but something more controlled, deliberate. Heat flooded my body, not the cold of dying. Heat, rushing through my veins like wildfire, burning away the exhaustion that had lived in my bones for years, my chronic fatigue, the heaviness I'd carried so long I'd forgotten what energy felt like it vanished, consumed in flame. Power replaced it. I gasped against his mouth. Halvard jerked back, eyes wide. "What?" he started. Then I felt it, his blood. A single drop had passed from his mouth to mine in the kiss. Now it burned like molten gold, remaking me from the inside out. My vision sharpened, my hearing amplified. I could hear every breath in the hall, every heartbeat, including my own still human rhythm. But I wasn't dying. I was stronger. Halvard stared at me. The entire court stared. The silence stretched, taut as a wire. Then someone screamed. "She lives!" The prophecy. The oracle was wrong. Impossible. Chaos erupted. Vampires surged forward. Halvard moved instantly, placing himself between me and the crowd, one arm extended in a command that froze them mid-step. "Back!" His voice cracked like a whip. They obeyed, but the hall buzzed with voices, confusion, fear. I swayed on my feet. The power still burned through me, overwhelming. Too much sensation, too much strength in muscles that had never known it. I would have fallen, but Halvard caught me, turning to pull me against his chest. "What is this?" His voice was harsh in my ear. "What are you?" "I don't know." My own voice sounded strange, stronger. His arms tightened around me. Protective, I realized dimly. He was shielding me with his body while his court descended into pandemonium. "Silence!" The word thundered from him. The hall fell quiet instantly. Halvard turned slowly, still holding me. His eyes swept the assembled vampires with cold authority. "The ceremony is suspended. Return to your homes. Speak of this to no one until I understand what has occurred." "But your majesty," someone began. "Now." They fled. In moments the hall emptied, leaving only Halvard, myself, and Seraphine, who had appeared at the foot of the dais. "Sire," she said carefully, "the oracle must be consulted." "Later." Halvard's jaw was tight. "First, I need to know what she is." "I'm human," I managed. You're not just anything." He pulled back enough to look at me, his hands on my shoulders. "I bit you. You should be dying. Instead He trailed off, searching my face. "What did you feel?" "Heat. Strength." I swallowed. I've been sick my whole life, tired all the time. Now I feel awake. His eyes widened fractionally. "Show her to the archive," he told Seraphine. "Find any record of humans who survived a vampire's bite. Anything about immunity, resistance, bloodlines with unusual properties. I want answers by dawn." "Of course, sire." Seraphine hesitated. "And the girl, she stays with me." The words were absolute. Seraphine bowed and vanished into the shadows. Halvard released me, stepping back. His expression was hard again, controlled. But I'd seen the crack in it when I didn't die. The shock. The something else I couldn't name. Can you walk?" he asked. I tested my legs. They held. "Yes." "Follow me." He led me through a side door, down corridors even more private than those I'd entered through. We climbed stairs carved from bedrock, passing no one. Finally, we reached a chamber high in what I realized must be an actual castle, built beneath the city and forgotten by everyone except the vampires who claimed it. The room was large, furnished in dark wood and leather. A fire burned in a massive hearth for show, I assumed, since vampires didn't feel cold. Bookshelves lined one wall, a desk dominated another. Through an archway, I glimpsed a bedroom. "These are my private quarters." Halvard moved to a sideboard and poured dark liquid into 2 glasses. "You're safe here." "Am I?" The question came out sharper than intended. "You just tried to kill me." He turned, glass in hand. For a moment, anger flashed in his eyes. Then it faded into something more complicated. "I didn't want to." "But you would have." "Yes." He held out one of the glasses. "Wine, human vintage. You need to ground yourself after what happened." I took it because my hands needed something to do. The wine was rich and red and tasted like normalcy. I drank half the glass in one swallow. Halvard watched me. He'd barely touched his own drink. "Why me?" I asked finally. "What made the oracle choose me specifically?" "I don't know. She gave your name, nothing more." "And you didn't question it?" His jaw tightened. "The oracle has guided our people for millennia. Her prophecies are absolute. Until tonight, she had never been wrong." "Well, congratulations. Tonight was the first." He looked at me for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. It was brief, barely there, but it transformed his face from cold to something warmer. Almost human. "You're angry." "I'm furious." "Good." He set down his glass. "Fear I can't work with. Anger is useful." "Useful for what?" "For surviving what comes next." He crossed to stand before me, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. "Someone wanted you dead, Beatrice. The oracle doesn't name offerings randomly. Your name was given for a reason. Either she wanted to kill you, or someone manipulated her prophecy to ensure you'd be brought before me." The implications sank in slowly. "You think this was an assassination attempt?" "I think you're more important than you know, and whoever knows that wanted you eliminated before you became a problem." "I'm a nurse. I'm nobody." "No." His voice was certain. "You're someone who survived a vampire king's bite. That makes you extraordinary." The word hung between us. I finished my wine to avoid responding. "Are you tired?" Halvard asked after a moment. The question surprised me. I took inventory. My body hummed with energy, the opposite of the exhaustion I'd carried all my life. "No, not at all." "Good. Then we work." He gestured to the desk. "Sit. Tell me everything about yourself. Family history, illnesses, anything unusual. If there's a reason you survived, it's buried in your bloodline." So I talked. I told him about my mother, my father, my unremarkable childhood in an unremarkable neighborhood, the fatigue that started around age 10, the doctors who found nothing wrong but couldn't explain why I could barely get out of bed some days, the strength it took just to function normally. Halvard listened without interrupting, his eyes never leaving my face. Other family?" he asked when I finished. "Grandparents? Aunts? Uncles?" "My mother's side is all gone. My father had a sister, but they didn't speak, some falling out before I was born." "What was your father's family name?" "Oakes, same as mine. His father's name was Thomas. His mother." I frowned, reaching for a memory I'd never prioritized. "Eleanor, I think." "Eleanor what? Before she married?" "I don't know. Does it matter?" "Everything matters now." He was already moving, pulling a book from a shelf. It was ancient, leather-bound, the pages yellow with age. He flipped through them rapidly, scanning text I couldn't read from this distance. "What is that?" "A genealogy. Every human family known to have had contact with vampires, going back centuries." His finger traced down a page. "If your survival is tied to bloodline, it'll be here." I joined him at the desk. The names swam before my eyes, written in cramped script. Halvard's finger stopped on an entry. "Eleanor Ashmore, married Thomas Oakes in 1962. He looked up sharply. "That's your grandmother?" "Maybe. The timing's right." His expression had gone very still. "The Ashmores were erased." Erased? From court records, from history. 300 years ago, the Ashmore bloodline was struck from all official vampire documentation. I don't know why those records are sealed, accessible only by the Council of Elders. A chill ran through me. Why would they erase an entire family? Because that family was dangerous. His eyes met mine. Dangerous to us. Before I could respond, Seraphine materialized in the doorway. "Sire, I found something." She carried a scroll, old and fragile. Halvard gestured her forward. She unrolled it carefully on the desk. The text was in a language I didn't recognize. Halvard read silently, his expression growing darker with each line. "What is it?" I asked. "A treaty," he said quietly. "Signed 500 years ago. The Ashmore bloodline agreed to go into hiding in exchange for their lives. In return, they would never reveal what they carried." "What did they carry?" "Immunity." He looked up. "The Ashmores couldn't be turned. Vampire blood strengthened them instead of transforming them. They were proof that the vampire hierarchy built on the ability to create progeny, to spread our blood and expand our power, had a natural limit. Understanding crashed over me. So the courts erased them. The courts made them disappear before they could become a rallying point for human resistance. If humans knew they could be immune, that vampire blood could strengthen rather than enslave them. He trailed off. It would change everything, I finished. Yes. Seraphine cleared her throat delicately. Sire, if she carries Ashmore blood, the council will demand her death. Then the council will be disappointed. Halvard's voice was hard. You cannot defy them openly, not so soon after taking the throne. Watch me. They stared at each other. Some silent battle of wills waged between them. Finally, Seraphine inclined her head. As you command, Your Majesty. But her eyes held worry. After she left, Halvard turned to me. You need to understand what this means. The Council of Elders rules alongside the king. They're older, more powerful, and they remember the Ashmore threat. If they learn you survived my bite, they'll see you as that threat reborn. Then why tell them? You sent the court away. No one has to know. Half the kingdom witnessed the ceremony. His expression was grim. By tomorrow, every vampire in the city will know. By the day after, the elders will summon us both. So I run. Where? He stepped closer. They'll hunt you. And unlike me, they won't hesitate to kill you the moment they find you. Then what do? You stay by my side. His voice dropped, intense. You let me protect you, and we figure out why the Oracle sent you to me specifically. You think there's more to this? I know there is. The Oracle doesn't make mistakes. If her prophecy said you'd die by my bite but you didn't, then either she lied, which is impossible, or the prophecy meant something different than we understood. I thought of the exact wording. She said I'd die by your bite, not that you'd kill me. Exactly. Which means someone else interpreted her words as a death sentence when they might have meant something else entirely. Like what? That's what we need to discover. He moved to the window, gazing out at the underground city below. Lights flickered in the darkness, cold and distant. The Oracle lives in the sanctum beneath the eastern quarter. No one enters without her permission. So we ask for permission. He glanced back at me. You're willing to face her after she named you for this ceremony? I want answers, and I'm not dying for anyone's prophecy. That smile again, brief and genuine. Good. We'll go tomorrow night. The hours until dawn passed in planning. Halvard laid out the political landscape of the vampire courts, the Elder Council, the lesser nobles, the factions who supported his kingship, and those who resented it. I listened, memorizing names and alliances, understanding for the first time that I'd stumbled into something much larger than my own survival. When the sun rose somewhere far above us, exhaustion finally caught up with me. The new strength that had flooded my body couldn't erase the need for sleep entirely. You need rest, Halvard said, noticing my drooping eyelids. Where do I sleep? My bed. I don't use it. I blinked. You don't sleep? I rest, but not in sleep as you know it. The bed is yours. The bedroom was as austere as the rest of his quarters. The bed itself was large, covered in dark linens that looked soft. I was suddenly aware I was still wearing the red ceremonial gown. I don't have anything else to wear. Halvard opened a wardrobe and produced a shirt, one of his, clearly too large for me. Use this. I took it. Thank you. He paused at the door. Beatrice? Yes? I meant what I said earlier. I didn't want to kill you. But you would have. Yes? He met my eyes. I'm glad I didn't have to. Then he was gone, closing the door softly behind him. I changed into his shirt. It fell to mid-thigh, smelling of cedar and something darker I couldn't name. When I lay down, the bed was surprisingly comfortable. I expected to lie awake, replaying everything that had happened. Instead, I slept. When I woke, the clock on the wall read 8 in the evening. I'd slept nearly 12 hours. My body felt good, better than good, strong, rested in a way I'd never experienced. I found Halvard in the main room, seated at his desk with more ancient books spread before him. He looked up when I entered. You're awake. I didn't mean to sleep so long. You needed it. Your body is adjusting. He closed the book he'd been reading. There are clothes in the wardrobe, human-sized. Seraphine anticipated your needs. I found them practical dark pants, a fitted black shirt, boots, all in my size. I changed quickly, feeling more like myself in real clothes. When I emerged, Halvard was standing. Ready? To see the oracle? Yes. We left his quarters and descended deeper into the underground city. The corridors here were older, carved with more primitive tools. The air felt thicker, weighted with age. Finally, we reached a door marked with symbols I didn't recognize. Halvard knocked 3 times. The door opened. Beyond was a chamber lit by hundreds of candles. Wax pooled on every surface, dripping from shelves and ledges. The smell was overwhelming smoke and tallow and something sweet underneath. In the center of the room sat a figure. She was ancient. Not vampire ancient, which looked young. Truly ancient, withered skin, clouded eyes, hunched spine. But when she looked up, those clouded eyes were sharp with intelligence. Halvard Blackthorne. Her voice was dry as old paper. You bring the dead girl. She's not dead, as you can see. No, she's not. The oracle smiled, revealing missing teeth. Come closer, child. I approached carefully. The oracle reached out one gnarled hand, beckoning. I gave her my hand. Her grip was surprisingly strong. She turned my palm up, tracing the lines with one twisted finger. Ashmore blood, she murmured. I thought it gone. You knew, I said. When you gave them my name, you knew what I was. I knew what you carried. What I didn't know was whether he'd kill you anyway. She looked up at Halvard. But you didn't. Your prophecy said she'd die. My prophecy said she'd die by your bite, and she did. The oracle's smile widened. The old Beatrice died the moment your blood touched hers. The one standing before me is someone new. I pulled my hand back. That's a technicality. Prophecy lives in technicality, child. She turned to Halvard. You want to know why I sent her to you? Yes. Because the Ashmore bloodline is the key to surviving what comes. What comes? Halvard's voice was sharp. War. The oracle's expression darkened. The Council of Elders grows restless. They resent your youth, your rise to power. They want a king they can control. You are not that king. Are they planning a coup? They're planning worse. They'll petition the high courts to declare your coronation invalid. Without the ceremonial offering, without the prophecy fulfilled in blood, your claim is weak. They'll install their own puppet on the throne. Halvard's jaw tightened. But the ceremony was witnessed. Beatrice's blood was taken. And she survived. Which means the ceremony was incomplete, or so they'll argue. The oracle looked at me. Unless she stands with you, proves that her survival wasn't defiance of prophecy but fulfillment of it, that the Ashmore immunity is meant to strengthen the throne, not weaken it. How do I prove that? I asked. By choosing to complete what was started, by accepting the turn willingly, not as death, but as transformation. Understanding dawned slowly. You want me to become vampire. I want you to survive, the oracle corrected. And the only way you survive the Elder's wrath is by becoming something they can't easily kill. A vampire with Ashmore blood is unprecedented, powerful, impossible to dismiss. But I can't be turned. That's what the immunity means. You can't be turned by force, the oracle said. But if you choose it, if you accept it willingly, your blood might allow the change, or it might not. The records are unclear. So you're asking me to risk my life on a maybe. I'm asking you to risk it for a purpose. The oracle's eyes bored into mine. The elders will destroy you if given the chance. They'll use you as proof that Halvard's reign is cursed. Better to transform you into something they must respect. I looked at Halvard. He'd been silent through this exchange, his face unreadable. What do you think? I asked him. I think, he said slowly, that the choice is yours. I won't force you. But you want me to. I want you to live. The words were quiet, intense. However that needs to happen. The oracle cackled. He likes you, child. I can see it. He fell first, the moment your heart kept beating against all odds. Halvard's expression hardened. That's enough, oracle. But she ignored him, leaning toward me. The question is whether you'll fall too, whether you'll tie yourself to this world for him. I barely know him. You know enough. He didn't kill you when duty demanded it. That tells you everything." She was right, I realized. In that moment on the dais, when Halvard had whispered his apology before the kiss, he'd meant it. He hadn't wanted to kill me, and when I survived, his first instinct had been to protect me. That meant something, maybe everything. "How long do I have to decide?" I asked. "The elders convene in 3 days," Halvard said. "They'll summon us both. If we appear without an answer to why you survived, they'll demand your death to complete the prophecy properly. And if I'm vampire, then you're one of us, subject to our laws but also protected by them. They can't simply execute you without trial." I turned the decision over in my mind. Become vampire or die. Except it wasn't that simple. Become vampire and join Halvard's fight, or die and let the elders win. When I framed it that way, the choice was easier. "I'll do it," I said. "I'll accept the turn." Halvard's eyes widened fractionally. "You're certain?" "No, but I'm angry enough to try." That smile again, wider this time. "Good." The oracle nodded approvingly. "Then the prophecy comes full circle. She died by your bite and is reborn by your blood. The elders can't argue with that." We left the sanctum shortly after. Halvard was quiet as we climbed back toward his quarters. I could feel tension rolling off him in waves. "What's wrong?" I asked finally. "This is my fault. I brought you into this world. Now you're forced to transform to survive it. You didn't force me. I chose. Because I left you no good options." I stopped walking. "Halvard, look at me." He turned. "My life before tonight was half-lived," I said. "I was exhausted all the time, surviving, not thriving. Now I feel strong for the first time ever. If I'd died on that dais, at least it would have been while feeling powerful. But I didn't die. I survived. And maybe that's because I was meant to." "You believe in fate?" "I believe in making the best of what I'm given. Right now I'm given a choice between dying human or living as something more. I'll take the second option." He studied me for a long moment. Then he reached out, cupping my face with one cold hand. "You're remarkable." Heat flooded my cheeks. "I'm practical." "You're brave." His thumb brushed my cheekbone. "I don't deserve your trust." "Probably not, but you have it anyway." Something shifted in his expression, softened. For a heartbeat, I thought he might kiss me again. Then he stepped back, letting his hand fall. "We should prepare. The transformation isn't easy." The next 2 days passed in preparation. Halvard explained what to expect: the pain, the dying of my human body, the rebirth as vampire. It would take hours, potentially a full day. I'd need to be somewhere safe, somewhere the elders couldn't interrupt. "My quarters are warded," he said. "No one can enter without my permission. You'll be safe here." Seraphine brought me human food, knowing I wouldn't be able to eat it after. I savored each meal, each taste. Part of me mourned what I'd lose, but a larger part anticipated what I'd gain: strength, power, immortality, and Halvard. That last thought surprised me. When had he become part of the equation? I barely knew him. 3 days ago I'd hated him for the death sentence hanging over me. Now I was choosing to bind myself to his world, his fight, because somewhere in those 3 days I'd seen past the cold exterior to the man underneath, the king who didn't want to kill innocents, the ruler trying to hold together a fractured court, the vampire who'd chosen to protect me when it would have been easier to let me die. I was falling for him. It was inconvenient, possibly stupid, but undeniable. On the 3rd night, as the hour of the elder's summons approached, Halvard came to me. "It's time," he said. I was ready. I'd changed into simple clothes, soft pants, a loose shirt, comfort for what came next. "Are you afraid?" he asked. "Terrified, but I'm doing it anyway." He took my hands. His were cold as always, but steady. "I'll be with you the entire time. If the pain becomes too much, I'll survive it." "Beatrice." "I will." I squeezed his hands. "I survived you once. I'll do it again." That earned a soft laugh. "I'm beginning to think you're invincible." "Let's find out." He led me to the bedroom. I lay on the bed, my heart pounding. Halvard sat beside me, his expression serious. "I'll bite you," he explained, "deeper than last time, enough to drain most of your blood. Then you'll drink from me. The exchange has to be significant. Your body will fight it because of your immunity, but if you want it enough, if you choose it consciously, the change might take." And if it doesn't? Then you'll die, and I'll have killed you after all. His voice was rough. I reached up, touching his face. Then make it count. He leaned down, and this time when he kissed me, it wasn't ceremonial. It was real, deep and searching, his mouth moving over mine with something that felt like desperation. I kissed him back, pouring everything into it, my fear, my trust, my growing feelings. His lips trailed to my jaw, then lower, to my throat. I tilted my head, baring my neck. "Last chance," he murmured against my skin. "You can still run." "No, I can't, and neither can you." His teeth pierced my throat. The pain was sharp and immediate, but not unbearable. Blood flowed from the wound, warm and quick. Halvard drank deeply, and I felt my strength ebbing, the power that had sustained me for days fading. Darkness crept into the edges of my vision. Then he pulled back, biting his own wrist. Blood welled there, dark and rich. He pressed it to my lips. "Drink," he commanded. I drank. His blood tasted like metal and fire. It burned going down, 1,000 times more intense than the single drop from the kiss. I choked, but Halvard held his wrist firm against my mouth. "More," he urged. "You need more." I drank until I couldn't anymore, until my body was too weak to swallow. Halvard lowered me back to the bed, his face tight with concern. "Stay with me," he said. "Beatrice, stay." I wanted to answer, but the pain hit. It started in my chest, a crushing agony as my heart stuttered, trying to beat with blood that was no longer entirely mine. The fire spread outward, consuming my veins, my muscles, my bones. I was being unmade from the inside out. I tried to scream, but no sound came. Halvard's hand found mine, gripping tight. "I'm here. I'm here." The pain intensified, worse than anything I'd imagined. My body convulsed, rejecting the change. My Ashmore immunity fought back, trying to expel the vampire blood. But I fought harder. I wanted this. I chose this. I held on to that certainty as the agony peaked, as my human body died cell by cell. I held on to Halvard's hand, an anchor in the darkness. Time stopped meaning anything. Hours or days could have passed. All I knew was pain, and the gradual awareness that I wasn't dying. I was changing. My senses sharpened first. I could hear Halvard's breathing, the slow thud of his heart. I could smell the candles in the other room, the leather of the furniture, the stone of the castle around us. Then my body knit itself back together, stronger, faster, new. The pain faded. I opened my eyes. The world was different. Colors were more vivid. Even in the dim candlelight, every detail stood out with perfect clarity. Halvard hovered over me, his face etched with worry. "Beatrice?" I tried to speak. My voice came out rough. "I'm here." Relief flooded his expression. "You did it. You actually did it." I sat up carefully. My body responded with inhuman grace. I felt light, powerful. The exhaustion that had haunted me for years was completely gone, replaced by boundless energy. "How long?" I asked. 6 hours. Your body fought hard." He brushed hair back from my face. "How do you feel?" "Strong." I looked at my hands. They looked the same but felt different. "Really strong." "Try standing." I rose from the bed in a smooth motion. My legs didn't shake. My vision didn't swim. I felt stable, solid. "Walk around, test your balance." I paced the room, then moved faster. My body obeyed instantly. No lag between thought and action. I could have run up the walls if I'd wanted. "This is incredible," I breathed. Halvard watched me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Pride, maybe. Relief. Something warmer underneath. "You're vampire now," he said. "One of us. But different. Because of the Ashmore blood." "Yes. We don't know yet what that means, but we'll figure it out." He approached me slowly. "How do you feel about what you've become?" I considered. I'd lost my humanity, my mortality. But I'd gained strength, power, a future that stretched beyond the handful of decades I'd expected. "I feel free," I said honestly. His smile was genuine, no restraint this time. "Good." A knock sounded at the door. Seraphine's voice came through. "Sire, the elders are convening. They demand your presence." Halvard's expression hardened. "We're coming." He turned to me. "This is it. They'll question you, test you, but you're vampire now. They can't simply execute you." What will they do instead? Try to undermine you, discredit you, prove you're a threat to the courts. He took my hand. Stay close to me. Don't answer any questions unless I tell you to. And whatever happens, don't show fear. I'm not afraid of them. You should be, but don't show it. We left his quarters and descended to the great hall where I'd nearly died days before. This time it was filled with a different crowd. Ancient vampires, all pale-skinned and white-haired, with eyes that held centuries of life and knowledge. The elders. They sat in a semicircle before the throne dais, 13 of them, each more imposing than the last. Halvard led me to stand before them, our hands still joined. The eldest, a vampire with hair like snow and eyes like ice, spoke first. Halvard Blackthorne, you bring the human. I bring Beatrice Oakes, Halvard corrected, who is no longer human. Murmurs rippled through the assembled elders. Explain, the ancient vampire demanded. She carries Ashmore blood, Halvard said. Her immunity prevented the ceremonial bite from killing her. Instead, it strengthened her. I have since completed the transformation with her consent. She is vampire now, and under my protection. Ashmore blood, the elder's eyes narrowed. That line was erased. Apparently not thoroughly enough. Halvard's voice was cool. And fortunate for us, her immunity combined with the vampire transformation creates something unprecedented. She's proof that our blood can strengthen rather than merely transform. She's an abomination, another elder hissed, a threat to the natural order. She's an asset, Halvard countered, a weapon against any who would challenge the courts. The first elder rose, approaching us slowly. He circled me like a predator assessing prey. I kept my spine straight, my eyes forward, just as Halvard had instructed. You claim she's vampire, the elder said. Prove it. Halvard looked at me. Show them your strength. I understood. I crossed to one of the stone columns supporting the hall, massive things that had stood for centuries. I braced my hands against it and pushed. The column cracked. Gasps echoed through the chamber. I stepped back, staring at the damage. I'd barely exerted effort. Impressive, the elder admitted, but strength alone doesn't make her one of us. What of her bloodlust? Has she fed? I hadn't. The transformation had been too recent. But now that he mentioned it, I felt the hunger stirring, a deep, gnawing need. Not yet, Halvard said, but she will. Then let her prove herself, the elder smiled coldly. Let her feed before this council. Show us she can control the bloodlust or prove herself a rabid thing that must be destroyed. It was a trap. Newly turned vampires often lost control during their first feeding. If I killed someone, the elders would have justification to execute me. No, Halvard said flatly. She feeds when and how I determine, not for your entertainment. You refuse the council's test? I refuse to endanger my people for a spectacle. The elders exchanged looks. The tension in the hall thickened. Then we have no choice, the first elder said, but to declare this transformation invalid. She remains a threat, and the prophecy remains unfulfilled. Your coronation is incomplete, Halvard Blackthorne. You are not rightful king. The words hung in the air like a blade. Halvard's hand tightened on mine. The prophecy said she would die by my bite. She did. Her human self is gone. What stands before you is the fulfillment of that prophecy, not its violation. Sophistry. Truth, Halvard's voice hardened. And if you challenge it, you challenge me. The hall fell silent. Challenging the king was tantamount to declaring war. The elders knew it. Halvard knew it. Everyone in the room knew it. The first elder studied Halvard for a long moment. You would start a civil war over this girl? I would defend my throne against any who questioned my right to it. Halvard's eyes swept the assembled elders, including this council. It was a gambit, a dangerous one, but I understood his strategy. Show no weakness, give no ground, force the elders to either accept his authority or openly rebel. The elder who'd circled me earlier spoke up. Perhaps a compromise. Halvard's expression didn't change. I'm listening. She remains under your protection, but she must prove her control. Not here, not now, but in time. If she demonstrates she can function as vampire without threat to our people, we will accept her. If she proves unstable, she forfeits her life. How long? Halvard asked. Perhaps 1 month. Let her learn our ways, master her bloodlust, prove she's vampire and not monster. At the next convening, we will test her properly. It was better than immediate execution, but still a leash. Agreed, Halvard said. On one condition, the test must be fair, not designed to make her fail. The elder inclined his head. We want only to ensure the safety of our people. If she is truly what you claim, she has nothing to fear. It was as good as we'd get. Halvard squeezed my hand once, a signal, then released it. This council is dismissed, he said with quiet authority. The elders filed out slowly, some casting dark looks at me. When the hall emptied, Halvard turned to face me. You did well, better than well. They want me to fail. Of course they do. You represent change, uncertainty. They've ruled through fear and tradition for millennia. You threaten that. So what do? We train, teach you control, prove you're worthy of their respect. He paused. And we prepare for the possibility they'll betray the agreement and try to kill you anyway. You think they will? I think they're afraid. And fear makes people dangerous. He offered his hand. Come, you need to feed, and we should do it in private. He led me back to his quarters, then through a door I hadn't noticed before. Beyond was a small chamber with a single chair and medical supplies. A young man sat in the chair reading. He looked up as we entered. Your Majesty, he set aside his book. I'm ready. This is Marcus, Halvard explained. He volunteers to feed vampires who need control during their first feedings. He's experienced. Marcus smiled at me. Don't worry, I've done this dozens of times. I looked at Halvard. I don't want to hurt him. You won't. I'll be here to stop you if you lose control. He guided me closer. Trust yourself, Beatrice. Your Ashmore blood makes you stronger than normal vampires. That strength includes willpower. I approached Marcus slowly. He tilted his head, exposing his throat. The scent of his blood hit me warm, alive, intoxicating. The hunger roared up, overwhelming. Easy, Halvard murmured. Let it come slowly. You're in control. I leaned in. My fangs, when had those descended, grazing Marcus's skin? Then I bit. Blood flooded my mouth, hot and rich. It was nothing like the wine from before, nothing like anything human. It was life itself, pure and undiluted. I drank deeply, the hunger demanding more, always more. Halvard's hand settled on my shoulder. Enough. The word cut through the bloodlust. I pulled back, gasping. Marcus swayed slightly, but remained conscious. Halvard steadied him, then pressed gauze to the wound. Well done, Halvard said to me. You stopped on command. Most new vampires can't manage that on their first try. I wanted to keep going. Of course you did, but you didn't. That's what matters. Marcus stood carefully. She's got excellent control, Your Majesty. I barely felt threatened. Thank you, Marcus. You may go. After Marcus left, Halvard turned to me. How do you feel? Alive. More than alive. The blood sang in my veins, power and warmth. Is it always like this? The first few times are most intense. It mellows with age, but never fully fades. He studied my face. You're adapting well, better than I expected. What did you expect? For you to struggle more, fight the instincts. He moved closer. But you embrace them. You're not afraid of what you've become. Should I be? Most are. The realization of what you must do to survive it breaks some people. I was a nurse. I've seen blood before. And I chose this transformation. Why would I fear what I accepted willingly? His expression softened into something almost fond. You really are remarkable. Heat crept up my neck. You keep saying that. Because it's true. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture was intimate, gentle. I've lived 3 centuries, Beatrice. I've known thousands of vampires. None of them are like you. Is that good or bad? It's dangerous for both of us. But he didn't pull away. His hand lingered against my cheek. Why dangerous? Because I'm beginning to care what happens to you, more than I should, more than is wise for a king. My breath caught. Halvard. I know, it's too soon. We barely know each other. But from the moment your heart kept beating on that dais, something changed. You were supposed to die, and instead you lived, defied prophecy, defied death itself. How could I not fall for that? The admission hung between us, raw and honest. I'm falling too, I whispered. I don't know when it started. Maybe when you apologized before the kiss. Maybe when you protected me from the court. Maybe just now, watching you help me through my first feeding. But I feel it. This complicates everything. I know. The elders will use it against us. Probably. You could still leave. Go somewhere they can't find you. Live a normal vampire life away from court politics. Is that what you want? No. His voice was rough. I want you here. With me. But I won't trap you in this world just because I'm selfish enough to want you near. I stepped closer, closing the distance between us. What if I want to stay? Not because I have to, but because I choose to. Then I'd be the luckiest vampire in existence. I kissed him. This time it wasn't ceremonial or transformative. It was just us, Halvard and Beatrice, vampire king and newly turned woman, finding each other in the chaos. He kissed me back with careful intensity, his hands framing my face like I was something precious. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. We should be careful, he said, but he didn't let go. The elders are watching. Let them watch. I was feeling bold, reckless. Maybe it was the new vampire confidence, or maybe just the certainty that this us was right. We've done nothing wrong. You're under my protection. They'll say I'm influencing you, using our bond to control you. Then we prove I'm my own person, that I make my own choices. And if they still demand your death at the next convening, then we fight. I met his eyes steadily. Together. His smile was fierce, proud. Together. The next month passed in a blur. Halvard taught me everything about being vampire, how to move through crowds without attracting attention, how to mask my scent, how to fight. That last one surprised me. You think I'll need to fight? I asked as he demonstrated a blocking technique. I hope not, but hope isn't strategy. You need to defend yourself. So I learned. My new strength made the physical aspects easy. My Ashmore blood apparently enhanced even vampire abilities. I was faster, stronger, more resilient than most newly turned vampires. You're a natural, Halvard said after I successfully pinned him during a sparring session, or you're going easy on me. I'm not. He flipped our positions easily, demonstrating he could escape if he wanted. But I'm also not trying to hurt you. We were close, his body pressing mine to the mat. The position was intimate, charged. His eyes darkened as he looked down at me. We should get up, he said, but didn't move. Probably. Neither of us moved. Then he kissed me again, deep and hungry. I kissed back, wrapping my arms around his neck. The kiss spiraled into more hands tangling in hair, clothes being tugged aside, breathless gasps against skin. We made love right there on the training mat, urgent and intense. Afterwards, lying tangled together, Halvard brushed his fingers through my hair. I love you, he said quietly. I know it's fast, but I do. I love you too. The words came easily, naturally. I think I have since you protected me that first night. That wasn't love yet. That was honor. Same thing for you. He laughed softly. Maybe. We stayed there for a while, just holding each other. Outside the training room, politics raged and enemies schemed. But in this moment, we were just two people who'd found something unexpected and precious. The day of the convening arrived too quickly. Halvard spent the morning preparing me. They'll test your control, your strength, your knowledge of vampire law, he explained. Answer honestly, but carefully. Don't volunteer information they don't ask for. I understand. And Beatrice? He cupped my face. Whatever happens, know that I'll fight for you. To my last breath. It won't come to that. Let's hope not. We entered the great hall together. The elders waited, seated in their semicircle. But this time, the hall was filled with other vampires' nobles, courtiers, witnesses. This was public, meant to establish precedent. The first elder rose. Beatrice Oakes, you stand before this council to prove your fitness as vampire. Do you accept our judgment? I accept the right of this council to test me, I said carefully. But I reserve the right to challenge any judgment I deem unjust. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The elder's eyes narrowed. Bold words. Honest ones. Very well. First test, control. You will feed before this council. Show us you can stop before killing. They brought forward a human volunteer, a young woman who looked terrified. I approached slowly, gently. What's your name? I asked. Clara, she whispered. I won't hurt you, Clara, I promise. I fed carefully, taking only what I needed and stopping well before danger. When I pulled back, Clara swayed but remained conscious. Medical attendants rushed forward to tend to her. Adequate, the elder said. Second test, strength. They set up a series of physical challenges, lifting heavy stones, breaking chains, sparring with trained vampire warriors. I passed each one, my Ashmore-enhanced abilities making it almost easy. Impressive, the elder admitted grudgingly. Third test, knowledge. They questioned me on vampire law, history, the hierarchy of courts. I answered carefully, drawing on everything Halvard had taught me. Some questions I didn't know, and I admitted it rather than guessing. Acceptable. The elder looked displeased that I'd passed. Fourth test, loyalty. This was the trap. I felt it immediately. Prove your loyalty to this council and these courts, the elder commanded. Denounce Halvard Blackthorne as a weak king who has allowed sentiment to cloud his judgment. The hall fell silent. I looked at Halvard. His expression was carefully neutral, but I saw the tension in his shoulders. No, I said clearly. You refuse? I refuse to lie. Halvard Blackthorne is not a weak king. He's the strongest person I know, and my loyalty is to him, not to a council that demands I betray him to prove myself. The elder's face darkened. Then you admit you're compromised. Your judgment is affected by your feelings for him. My judgment is informed by everything he's shown me, honor, integrity, strength. If that compromises me, then I'm happy to be compromised. You realize what you're saying. You're choosing him over the good of these courts. I'm choosing honesty over political games, and I'm choosing to stand with someone worthy of loyalty. I turned to address the full crowd. All of you witnessed my transformation. You know what I am, vampire with Ashmore blood, something unprecedented. The elders fear that. They want me to be a threat so they can eliminate me. But I'm not a threat. I'm proof that change is possible, that old enemies can become new allies. My words rang through the hall. Some vampires nodded, others looked uncertain. The first elder rose. This council finds Beatrice Oakes unsuitable for vampire society. She is too influenced by her attachment to the king. She must be eliminated. No. Halvard's voice cut through the pronouncement. He stepped forward, placing himself between me and the elders. You don't have that authority. We have every authority. You have the authority to advise, to test, but only the king may pass judgment of execution, and I refuse. Then you're unfit to rule. Then challenge me openly. Halvard's eyes blazed. Stop hiding behind procedure and tradition. If you want my throne, take it, but you'll have to go through me first. It was the confrontation everyone had seen coming. The hall erupted into chaos, vampires shouting, choosing sides, arguments breaking out. The first elder raised his hand for silence. You would start civil war over this girl? I would defend my throne against tyrants who abuse their power, Halvard corrected. You've ruled through fear long enough. It's time for change. Change leads to chaos. Stagnation leads to death. Halvard looked around the hall. All of you, every vampire here, you felt the weight of the elders' control, the endless rules, the ancient grudges, the refusal to adapt. We revealed ourselves to humanity 5 years ago, but we haven't changed how we govern ourselves. We're still living like it's the Dark Ages. Voices rose in agreement. Not everyone, but enough. The first elder's expression was stone. This is treason. This is revolution. Halvard turned back to him, and it's been coming for centuries. Beatrice's survival, her transformation, it's just the spark, but the tinder was always there. For a long moment, no one moved. The tension was unbearable. Then, one of the younger elders stood. Perhaps compromise is still possible. The first elder rounded on him. You would side with this upstart? I would prevent civil war. Isn't that our duty, to protect our people? The younger elder addressed the crowd. The tests show Beatrice Oakes is capable, controlled, and powerful. Her loyalty to the king is actually a strength, not a weakness. And her bloodline, the Ashmore immunity, makes her valuable. Why destroy what we could utilize? Murmurs of agreement spread. Another elder stood. I agree. This conflict serves no one. Let her remain under the king's protection. In time, we'll see what she truly is. The first elder looked around at his fellow council members. Several nodded. He was losing support, and he knew it. Very well, he said finally, the words bitter. She may remain. But mark this, if she proves dangerous, her blood is on your hands, Halvard Blackthorne. I accept that responsibility. The elder sat down. This convening is concluded. Vampires began filing out. Some approached me, congratulating me on passing the tests. Others shot dark looks. Halvard stayed at my side through all of it, solid and protective. When the hall finally emptied, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. We did it, I said. You did it. That speech about honesty and change, you won them over. I just told the truth. That's what made it powerful. He pulled me into his arms. I'm so proud of you. I held him tightly. What happens now? Now we rule, together. Not as king and subject, but as partners. I pulled back to look at him. You mean that? I do. I can't offer you marriage. Vampire politics are complicated, but I can offer you power, position, my heart. Will you stand with me? Help me change these courts for the better? Yes. No hesitation. Yes to all of it. He kissed me, deep and thorough, right there in the empty hall where we'd begun. The months that followed were challenging but hopeful. Halvard and I worked together to reform the vampire courts, eliminating the harshest laws, establishing fairer trials, opening dialogue with human governments. It was slow work, resisted by traditionalists, but gradually we made progress. My Ashmore bloodline became known throughout vampire society. Other immune humans came forward, no longer afraid of persecution. We established a sanctuary for them, a place where they could choose transformation or remain human without fear. The elders remained wary, but they couldn't argue with results. The courts were stronger, more unified than they'd been in centuries. 6 months after my transformation, Halvard and I stood on the balcony of his quarters, looking out over the underground city. Happy? He asked, arm around my waist. Very, I leaned into him, though I never imagined my life would turn out like this. Neither did I. I thought that ceremony would be the end, a necessary sacrifice. Instead, it was a beginning. The oracle knew. She always does. He turned me to face him. I have something for you. He produced a small box. Inside was a ring, simple silver, set with a dark stone that caught the light. It's not a wedding ring, he explained, but it's a promise that I'm yours, you're mine, and we face everything together, no matter what comes. I slipped it on. It fit perfectly. I love it, and I love you. I love you too, more than I knew I could love anyone. We kissed as the underground city sparkled below us, our kingdom, our home. The prophecy had said I'd die by his bite. In a way, I had. The old Beatrice, tired, weak, half alive, died that night on the dais. What emerged was someone stronger, someone capable of standing beside a king and changing the world. The vampire king's kiss had made me stronger, and together we were unstoppable. Years passed. We ruled jointly, though officially Halvard remained king, and I was his consort. The courts flourished. Relations with humanity improved. The Ashmore bloodline was restored to honor, their history reclaimed. On the 10-year anniversary of my transformation, we held a ceremony in the Great Hall. But this time, instead of an offering, it was a celebration. Humans and vampires mingled freely, the old fears finally fading. Halvard raised a glass to toast the crowd. 10 years ago, the oracle gave a prophecy that seemed like a death sentence, but prophecies are tricky things. They tell truth, just not always the truth we expect. Beatrice was told she'd die by my bite, and she did. The girl who walked into this hall died. But from that death came new life, stronger than before. She became the bridge between our worlds, proof that we can coexist, even thrive together. The crowd applauded. I stood beside him, accepting their appreciation with grace I'd learned over a decade of practice. When the celebration wound down and we returned to our quarters, Halvard pulled me close. Any regrets? He asked. None. You? Only that I can't give you everything. Children, mortality, a normal life. I don't want those things. I want this. I gestured around us. This life, this purpose. You. That's enough. You're sure? Because there are rituals, old magic that might make it possible for vampires to have children. It's rare, difficult, but I pressed a finger to his lips. If it happens, wonderful. If not, we have each other and eternity to figure out what we want. That's more than most people get. He caught my hand, kissing the palm. How did I get so lucky? The oracle's prophecy. Turns out she was doing you a favor. Best favor anyone's ever done me. We spent the night tangled together, celebrating a decade of defying expectations and building something beautiful from what should have been tragedy. The oracle never commented on how her prophecy played out, but sometimes, when I visited the sanctum, I caught her smiling her gap-toothed smile. She'd known all along what would happen. The prophecy had never been about my death. It had been about transformation, change, the death of old ways and the birth of new ones. She'd given the courts exactly what they needed, even if they didn't understand it at the time. More years passed. Halvard and I became legendary, the Vampire King and his Ashmore Queen, the partnership that revolutionized vampire society. Our story was told across courts worldwide, inspiring other leaders to embrace change rather than cling to tradition. 20 years after my transformation, I stood in the Great Hall again. This time, it was to welcome new vampires to court volunteers who'd chosen transformation, their decisions informed and free. Among them was a young woman who reminded me of myself at that age, determined, defiant, unafraid. "What's your name?" I asked. "Elena." "Welcome, Elena. You're going to do great things here." She smiled, bright and hopeful. Halvard joined me as the ceremony concluded. Thinking about the past? Thinking about how far we've come, and how far we still have to go. Always forward, always together. We left the hall hand in hand, two people who defied prophecy, death, and tradition to build something lasting. The Vampire King and the woman who survived his bite, stronger for it. Our love story wasn't conventional. It started with a death sentence and prophecy, but it grew into something real, deep, unshakable. I'd been told I'd die by his bite. Instead, his kiss made me stronger, and together we'd transformed not just ourselves, but an entire society. That was the real prophecy, fulfilled not death, but rebirth. Not ending, but beginning. And our beginning had no end in sight. 50 years after my transformation, on a night much like the one we met, Halvard and I stood on our balcony again. "Do you miss it?" he asked. "Your human life?" "Sometimes I miss the simplicity, but I don't miss the exhaustion, the weakness, the feeling of time slipping away." I looked at him. "I get forever with you. That's worth everything I gave up." "Forever is a long time." "Not long enough," he laughed, pulling me close. I used to think immortality was a curse, watching centuries pass, losing everyone I cared about eventually. But with you, it feels like a gift. Like we have endless time to explore, to change things, to love. That's because we do. Below us, the underground city glowed. Above us, somewhere far beyond the stone, the mortal world continued. We existed between them, part of both, belonging fully to neither. But we belonged to each other. That was enough. The prophecy had come true in ways no one expected. I did die by Halvard's bite, the old me, the weak me, the half-alive me. And from that death, I was reborn stronger. Not just physically, but in every way that mattered. The Vampire King's kiss made me immortal. His love made me powerful. Together, we made each other whole. And that was the truest magic of all.